If you want to get the most out of your training and go faster on the bike, then you need the Join Cycling app, the #1 adaptive training platform that adapts to your needs, your level, and your availability. Check it out below. Now, you might have missed this. Tour of Turkey Queen Stage. DSM were cooking with Lund Andersen and Jakobsen in the sprints. There was Caja Rural here for GC and Harold Martin Lopez, Langolotti on Burgos. But look at this man. Paul Double, I call him Paul Double. This was the mountaintop finish Pratirativo Giro Abruzzo against the UAE train, including Adam Yates. And he's tacked onto the back of there also with Michael Storer, who came top 10 in the Giro d'Italia. Look where he finished on that 14k 7% climb on the Polti Cometa team. We have a very similar climb we did a few weeks later in Turkey. This was the Queen Stage, up the spitt dagi climb, 14k 7%, very, very difficult, breakaway up ahead, and this was the main climbing stage. So GC all to play for, Caja Rural were pacing, and DSM as well for Frank Vandenbroek. But yeah, I wanted to make this video just to catch up on, just off the World Tour circuit, some of these riders who you might not have heard of, and they are World Tour level. In fact, some of them are above average World Tour level riders, and for whatever reason, they haven't been picked up by a World Tour team yet, maybe an unconventional pathway. Climb started, and Polti Cometa start shredding it for their boy, the Briton Paul Double. He was on human-powered health, but then they folded. He's like 27, late bloomer, and at Abruzzo, as I said, he did a very high-level climbing performance, compared to Adam Yates, Sivakov, he wasn't far behind them. Caja Rural come to the front. It's David Gonzalez for Jefferson Cepeda, who was very, very good earlier in this season. And Burgos Boucher there as well for the Monegasque Langolotti, who'd unfortunately have a puncture later in this climb. Conker, he tried to bridge across to his teammate who'd been in the breakaway, but yeah, he's not really going anywhere. So Zaccharato as well, he was good in the Giro d'Italia, which was after this race. He was solid enough. But yeah, Cara setting a decent pace, nothing ferocious. The teams don't have the depth of climbing domestiques here, but Gonzalez does a good job nonetheless controlling these two. And eventually you see Paul Double, he moves up. Harold Martin Lopez, the short Ecuador on the left-hand side behind Pronsky. He moves up and you see Gonzalez on the radio, I'm about done. And Cepeda says, all right, one last turn, rip it through this corner, this curve or hairpin. And he does exactly that. And you'll see that a lot. You see it's out of the hairpin when it gets strung out. Micah did that a lot, actually, in the Giro for Pogacar. And Cepeda goes, but it's not that steep on this section. And watch Lopez. Bang. My teammate's on the wheel. I don't need to close that. It's not my problem. It's someone else's problem. And it actually becomes Double's problem, Vandenbroek's problem, and Kudus, who's here for Terengganu Cycling. He was on EF and Astana previously, and he's now back to Continental level. But actually, look here. Lopez goes across following Double. There's a gap, and Vandenbroek and Kudus are nowhere. They're deep in this second group. Maybe that helped them, not responding to the initial acceleration. Maybe it didn't make a difference at all because Cepeda stops and he actually completely cooked himself with that attack. There's a bit of a stalemate. No one wants to set it right to the front. Cepeda's just pacing there. And then Lopez attacks. He actually does, by our calculations, the most watts on this climb. By the way, all these guys, you might not watch this race live. I'm glad you can watch it now. But all these guys, these climbers on the .pro circuit, they're knocking out 6 watts per kilo for 30, no problem. A lot of these riders. And Delgado goes to the front for Burgos to chase Lopez. Delgado meaning skinny in Spanish, so a bit of nominative determinism, as you can evidently see with him. And the gap that Lopez gets is pretty solid, actually. He's a bit of an unknown quantity, a bit inconsistent, but at this sort of level, after an easy-ish stage beforehand, Burgos start getting worried. Aparicio actually attacks, not Langolotti, because Langolotti has a puncture at this moment. Kudus on his wheel, and then Double counters. 4Ks to go. It levels off with 2Ks to go. So Double's like, I got to use the next 2 kilometers to make the difference on this climb. And he's got Pronsky cracking a bit. Kudus is hanging on to Will, and Vandenbroek gets across easily, actually, as Kudus then counters. He was looking a bit suspect. And I feel like if Kudus and Double relayed here, maybe one of them does win GC. But in the end, the best 3 climbers, which I consider in this stage to have been Kudus, Double, and Lopez, they counteract each other, and there's one big beneficiary. the young Dutchman, well, not so young, Frank Vandenbroek, the 23-year-old on DSM DSM personnel, sorry. And he's on the wheel, doubles having to chase Kudus, so they're neutralizing each other. And, Vandenbroek's one of these guys, nothing in juniors, barely nothing in U23s, didn't ride during COVID or race during COVID. He's monitoring the situation. And then he gets a few good results in his first year at elite level last year, and then comes top 10 in the Dutch National Championships, road race and TT, and he gets an offer from DSM, and he's a really good rider. He's an above-average World Tour rider that was just there, and he did nothing in U23s or juniors. And all of a sudden, he's 23. He's still young. He's still got 10 years, 12, 14 years possibly ahead of him. And I really like these stories, and doubles another one. Yeah, he's 27, but he was on human-powered health. Was that the best situation? Probably not. Did he do enough in juniors or U23s? No. Like the track he's on that, man, it levels off here. But look what he's doing at this level and performing. 2 races this year, big watts over 30 minutes. And a lot of teams don't have riders that can do 6 for 30 on demand, actually. And I don't know what was happening with Kudus here. Actually, he was motioning to Ayob, his teammate on Tarangano. I don't know if he thought he had a mechanical or not. But yeah, there's loads of teams signing riders that can't climb to be a climbing domestique. Now, is he a perfect rider? No. Is he going to win Tour de France GC or be like that level? No. But still, I was even surprised Paul Di Cometa didn't take him to the Giro. Maybe they didn't expect him to be as good as he was and the scheduling didn't work. But he was too generous in the end. Maybe he was riding to keep those guys behind to guarantee top 3 on GC. And Frank Vandenbroek dusts him and Kudus off in the sprint. But just 2 guys who, not the biggest hype, not the biggest names, but just look out for them in the future. And also nice to see Kudus getting a good result after coming down to continental level. So this was the stage results. Also, the GC results. They finished 1, 2, 3 in GC in that order. And it was a really good tour of Turkey for DSM. Actually, they needed the points from that. Here's what Frank Vandenbroek had to say after the stage.
But the team had a lot of trust in me. They did a lot of work in the beginning of the stage, and Julius did a whole lot of work in the riding on the front of the peloton. So that gave me a lot of confidence, and I'm very happy to actually win today.
In the final climb, when did you realize that the win was a possibility?
When we went over the top of the steepest part, when it flattened out, then I knew I had a very big chance because it was kind of a flat run-in. And I knew I had an okay sprint against the climbers.
You're new in the game, but did you know these riders very well?
Not so well, but I knew double was very strong. The next 2 days are again big chances for us with the sprint train, with Fabio. It should be hopefully pretty easy for me to hold on to the jersey.
But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know, are there any other names around the non-World Tour circuit you think deserve a bit more hype? Post them down in the comments below. I'll see you with a recap of the Dauphiné this weekend. Ciao.